Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. We have my longtime friend and friend of the show, Rosie Tran from the. Are you still doing? You're still doing Crypto Kitty, right?
I do. So it's on rockfin.com/Rosie Tran. We had an amazing guest this week, who's talking about NFTs and how artists and independent artists can use NFTs to protect their intellectual property and get residual income. So I'm all about the indie artists.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that first before we get into what's happening in the crypto market. Since you brought it up, I'm just exploring NFTs, and I love that you're on Rockfin because I had a conversation with Martin, the founder of Rockfin, about about what they're doing with NFTs and content creators, and how we're going to be specifically. This show is going to be using NFTs to raise money to do the Anything Can Happen game show that you were on. We want to shoot a pilot, like a real one, in front of an audience, with podiums and buzzers and the whole shot, like a TV show, like the game shows I used to do a million years ago. So they're like, we're going to create these. Rockfin is going to create NFTs in house, and the thing so what they're going to do, the NFTs in house. So if somebody buys an NFT, it's going to go to fund that show. And then when we put the show exclusively on Rockfin, we're going to negotiate. They'll get a percentage of whatever the tips, because on Rockfin, and people watching right now can tip videos on either of our channels. They can just go watch any video and say, I like this, and give it whatever, $2, $5, whatever. And so it's this brilliant model of taking the crypto NFT world with the very successful model of crowdfunding, which I've crowdfunded numerous projects using Kickstarter and GoFundMe. I think my Graham Goes to Russia is on Rockfin. Afghanistan, I didn't crowdfund, but I crowdfunded Earbuds with Chris Mancini, and we crowdfunded the first year of the Los Angeles Podcast Festival. So I've had a lot of success, and crowdfunding has been a very successful thing for artists. And what they're doing now to combine the NFT and what for those of you who are like, what's an NFT? I say it's a digital collectible that artists can get residual income. And that, to me, as a filmmaker, is so big because I have 2 movies and a TV series on Amazon right now. I haven't gotten a penny.
Yeah.
A distributor put them on there, and I've emailed the distributor, like, oh, you haven't made any money. How do I know this? I don't know. They're keeping the books all to themselves. But in the blockchain,
it's all transparent.
It's all transparent. So why don't you explain to our audience a little bit about what the NFTs are and how they can specifically help content creators, artists, athletes, whatever?
Yeah. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, and it's just a way to digitize your artwork, your music, whatever, so that there's I would say a trail, but it's on the blockchain. So, for example, I don't know if you know much about the music industry. Comedy is the same, acting is the same, but usually the artists, the independent artists, or even big artists that people would be surprised by, who are pretty big celebrities, they bend over and take it, and the big, corporate producers take all of the money. And there's hit songs from the '60s from usually, unfortunately, artists of color who are huge hit songs, like staples of the '60s, and they would have their rights signed away. And so that entity just gives you evidence that it's yours. So I'll give you an example. So say I make Rosie Tran mugs. I don't have Rosie Tran mugs, so I'm just making an example. Those little QR codes. So this is a typical way of doing it. So you can put a QR code on it, and if you scan it, it shows that it's like an authentic Rosie Tran mug. So that mug, if you buy it, then that income goes to me. And you can even do a digital mug. So I can make just like a picture of a mug and then also send you the mug. And so you would then have that, and it would be a Rosie Tran mug. So then if you, Graham, you're like, well, I'm going to screw Rosie over and I'm going to make Rosie Tran mugs too. If you wouldn't have that QR code and you wouldn't have that tracking, so when people scan it, they would say, well, Graham, you're selling fake Rosie Tran mugs and she's not getting a percentage of this. So that's not cool. Mm-hmm. So that's a way to do it. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you have ever scanned like a FedEx package and it shows the tracking and it shows the where it's been. Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of what an NFT does too. So if you do like a Graham Elwood artwork or a Graham Elwood comedy album, it shows, hey, it was sourced. You scan the QR code. Hey, it was sourced by gram, and then you can see who bought it, and then you can also add a like a crypto residual income, like you said, because it's linked to the blockchain. So if I buy that Graham Elwood album, but then I sell it to my friend Susie, even though I'm selling it to someone else, you still get a residual income of that. So you're getting income every single time it's sold. So if that Graham Elwood, comedy album, I sell it to a friend who sells it to a friend, every single transaction, you get a cut of that, which you deserve because it's your comedy album or your image.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. When I first heard about NFTs last year, maybe 9 months ago or something, and I heard that, I was like, I lit up, because as a content creator, just as a comedian and artist, I mean, you see this all the time. Like, look at Spotify. Like, I've got podcasts and comedy albums on Spotify, and they pay me little pennies and stuff like that. The owner of Spotify is a billionaire, of course.
Yeah.
And this is true on everybody. And now
it's not even small people. Like Taylor Swift just had to I mean, she's a huge celebrity. She had to relaunch her album because her manager, without her consent, sold off the rights to her album. I don't even know how that happened. So she's not getting a penny. She's a huge celebrity and she's not getting a penny from that album. So she re-released her album and authenticated it with, I think, an NFT. And so, and it's called Taylor's version. So she's encouraging her fans to purchase and listen to and stream those versions so that she gets the money. Because why should actually, not only did her manager sell off the rights to her music without her permission, again, I don't know how that even happens, but he sold it to a Wall Street venture capital firm. So, yeah, right.
Unbelievable. Of course, Wall Street figured out a way to screw somebody over.
It's like you're screwing over Taylor Swift. Come on. So this is a way for artists to own their own content, which of course, if you do a comedy album, Graham Elwood should own the rights to his comedy album. Like,
yeah. Shocking.
Right? Yeah.
and the thing I love too is no one can say, oh, I never resold your album. No, yeah, you did. It's on the blockchain. We can all see it.
It's on the blockchain. It's in that QR code. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, and then as you say, you can assign a crypto wallet to that so that whenever this transaction happens, it's just deposited into your crypto wallet, which is, to me, is like,
yeah,
that's even more amazing, because you're just going to get residual streams of crypto. And we've seen artists
usually get screwed over. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, the artists who are creating the content are the ones who always get screwed over. And then there's some like business exec who helped you like 1%, and he's getting 90, or he or she's getting 98% of the income. It's like, this doesn't make any sense.
And artists, especially in the last, I'd say, 15 years, since all of this digital stuff, digitizing albums and podcasts and all this stuff is happening, you've seen artists do stuff. And in some cases they were successful. I think it was, was it Radiohead or Smashing Pumpkins? I forget, that released their own album, and they released it on their website, and it was like $5 or whatever. I remember Louis CK, before we found out he was a sex creep, he did that with an album, with one of his comedy specials or something like that, where he produced it, released it on his website, and everyone bought it through him. So he got the bulk of the money as well.
Yeah.
He should, as well as the artist should. And, I think NFTs are sort of the next level of artists empowering themselves. And I think this is one of the reasons why artists are susceptible, is because most artists are not money people. They have a creative brain. They don't have a contract and a money brain. They have a creative brain. And which is why I think like every acting school, every film school, every performing arts school should have required business courses for artists. Required. Yeah. Reading contracts, understanding this. I mean, I was not that great at it, and I had to learn. I got taken advantage of over 10 years ago by the banking system. I went through foreclosure and everything. And there was some mistakes that I made because I didn't empower myself enough, and I allowed them to take advantage of me. I mean, I'm not excusing what they did, but like, two things can be true at the same time. And so this is why this.
But there's a team of lawyers. I have a very good friend who's a bankruptcy attorney, and he actually left a very, very lucrative job working for a large I'm not going to name them because I don't want to
Sure.
get in trouble, but a very large conglomerate media organization that's based in Los Angeles. And he ethically and morally did not want to work there anymore because his job, he now is a bankruptcy attorney, he helps people get out of bankruptcy, but his job was to make his the CEOs and the executive told him, your job is to make the contracts as complicated and as convoluted as possible to screw the artist out of as much money as possible. Literally, that was his job.
Yeah.
And he morally could not do it anymore. He said, I can't. He's a very good friend of mine, friend for years. And he said, I literally could not do it anymore because I felt sick to my stomach. My job was to make very simple agreements between artists and our large studio that should have been 10 pages, 100 pages, so that the artists would get overwhelmed and confused and sign their rights away.
Yeah.
And it is morally, and ethically disgusting.
I remember when I did Last Comic Standing, which I regret doing, and the contract they sent over was preposterous. I mean, it literally was the most ridiculous. And they were like, well, if you want to be on NBC primetime in front of 10 million viewers or whatever, you better sign this. And you're just like, I remember
And
like
yeah,
a
you're
lawyer.
screwed because you want that exposure, obviously.
Yeah. And they know that. And so like, I remember my lawyer said, because I was like, God, this tour, if you make the final 6 or 10 or whatever, this tour looks awful. And I know some comics that did it and it was like, oh, the money sucked. It was awful. And my lawyer said, just don't get in the top 10. He goes, because just advance a couple of rounds to get up your road. Because that's the other thing too. They knew this. Every comic that did it was gambling that even if you just advanced a couple of rounds, your road money went up. And I know dozens, and I'm sure you do too, of comedians that did that and the road money come. You didn't even have to win it. Your road money went up for a couple of years. And so he was like, yeah, just try to advance a couple of rounds, get your road money up, and then tank it before you. I got kicked out in the first round, so I didn't have to worry about it. So it was good stuff. But yeah, I'm really excited about NFTs as a content creator. I'm excited about doing one to crowdfund projects because I want to test run this game show. And if it's successful, then, I want to fund feature films,
Well,
and
I'm so glad you're talking about this and even asking me. The sad thing, of course, is that the mainstream media is always focusing on something that is not helpful to people. So all the NFT stories you see in the mainstream media are about billionaires purchasing $30 million NFT artwork. And so the average person looks at it and they go, well, this is for super rich. This isn't for me. I don't need to learn or understand this. And really, it's a technology that is for the little guy. But for some reason, the mainstream media, I don't, who knows why, right? Focuses on these elaborate and crazy NFT stories about the super uber wealthy and not focusing on the actual practical benefits for people like you and me.
Right, because the corporate media, I always say this, I always remind people, the corporate media includes Hollywood. And so the corporate media, again, as you just gave evidence, they want artists confused and just sign whatever, just sign it. As long as I'm on TV, I'll make my money out, whatever, just get me on the screen and, I'll figure it out. It's down the road. They don't want people going to, and I think one of the websites is OpenSea. I started to research it where you can create your own NFT. They'll make it for you. They take a percentage of it, but then it's all above board. And every time it's sold, they get a percentage, you get a percentage. And I'm really excited.
It's really awesome. It's a really great technology for the little guy, even for hobbyists. If you're a hobbyist and you draw artwork and you just want to put it out there and see if anyone would be interested in it, you can get income from it. You can get residual income. Maybe you're not going to make 6 figures from it. Maybe you're not going to make a living from it. But, with the crazy inflation that, our alleged Democratic majority and Democratic president is doing to create more and more wealth inequality, unfortunately, you see gas is $5, you see prices are going up. So it's really scary what's going on right now. America is an amazing country with amazing people, but we're kind of tracking some developing countries and third world countries the way we're acting. And I don't know if, what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the things, I talked about with you when you first came on the show to talk crypto a year and a half ago, when I talked to Christy I in the summer of 2020, the first CARES Act had been passed. They were talking about a second one. And And talking with you and with Christy, I was like, she really was like, the money printing, we're going into hyperinflation. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And here we are a year and a half later. And as you say, gas is $5 a gallon. The grocery store bill is at least 20 to 30% higher. And in some cases, it's manufactured inflation because corporations are going, oh, we can get away with charging more. And in some cases, it's legitimate because we just printed whatever now with Build Back Better. What are we at? 9 trillion? I've lost track of all the money we've printed.
I don't know, but I think it's 9 trillion, and the infrastructure bill was insane. I support obviously infrastructure and helping America, but when you're putting things in the infrastructure bill that are very suspicious, including making small crypto owners felons, I don't know if you know about that. They're really trying to go after the little guy, it feels sometimes, and just protect those, corporate interests, either inflating the assets, the rich are getting richer, and the median income for the average person is just staying the same. Meanwhile, things are inflating 20 to 30%. So it's very shocking when you have politicians that are claiming they're Democrats and doing this stuff.
Yeah, we're building back better, Rosie. Aren't you excited about all the back better building?
Sorry, am I being too mean?
Isn't it great watching a president with clear cognitive decline fall asleep at a climate summit? Doesn't that
one of the most important climate summits of our time?
Yes. He fell asleep. So that's a vote of confidence. I feel better about it. I feel secure in that.
Bernie was too old, though. We could never elect
Bernie way too old. Who still can form full sentences. He was too old. But Biden, he's the sharp young kid we need in the office to really get us out of this mess. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/Graham Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood and go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a PO box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.